Naching Kassa, and today I'll be reading from my story She Woke at Midnight from Haunts and Hellions. London, England, 1875. Amelia Fairfax possessed a darkness no one could understand. She had always veered toward the melancholic, but when her dear mother passed from the confines of the earth, Amelia's dark moods took a much larger role in her life. Her father overlooked her interest in the macabre fiction of Poe, and her attraction to colours more attuned to grieving, but when she had the audacity to host a séance in the front parlour, he found it too much to bear. He sent her to London to stay with her Aunt Jane and Cousin Sarah. Lord Jameson took Amelia's hand in his and kissed it. "Would you dance with me, Miss Fairfax?" Sarah took a step forward, but the colour drained from her face when he led Amelia to the floor. They danced the waltz, his strong arms holding Amelia, and when she glanced up into his glorious face, a stray thought filled her head. A man like Lord Richard Jameson could never desire a woman like her. Amelia's heart grew heavy, and a dull ache filled her chest. "You must love my cousin very much," she said, trying to keep the bitterness from her tone, but it seeped into the words anyway. "Why would you think that?" "You have made her quite jealous. She pretended no interest in you, and yet seemed fascinated when you approached." "Was she? I hadn't noticed." "You did not see the flush in her cheek? Many a maid would give their right arm for such a colour. A mere mortal could not achieve such a thing without paint or pinching. You must be blind if you didn't notice her beauty." "It seems you see the truth in everything, Miss Amelia," he said with a chuckle. "You speak quite boldly." "I see no need for games. I am not in search of a husband." "You do not wish to marry?" "I suppose I do wish it, but I am not like the other ladies here. I believe a woman should find joy in the heart of a man, not in what his purse contains." He stared into her eyes, and his grip on her waist grew tighter. She realized they had ceased moving as the others whirled around them. "Are you a romantic, Miss Amelia?" "You ask that as if it were a terrible thing." A shadow seemed to pass over his face. "Love, true love, is frightening. Once you've found it, you cannot live without it. It has two sides of a sharp blade, and you often find your heart balancing on the tip." "You speak from experience?" "I believed I did, until today, until a pale beauty caught your eye. My cousin is just that. As I said before, I hadn't noticed." Amelia's heart fluttered as though it were a bird and had taken wing. Heat crept over her face. "Her blush pales in comparison to yours," he said. "Helen of Troy would envy such a blush." I am not beautiful." He leaned close to her ear, and the warmth of his breath sent chills over her skin. "That is the first untruth you have spoken this evening," he whispered. Applause filled the room, and she jumped at the sound. The dance had ended. Gentlemen led ladies from the floor and back to their seats. Lord Jameson did not return Amelia to hers. Instead, he took her to the next dance, and they once again threaded their way around the floor. "You called me blind a few moments ago," he said, "because I did not notice your cousin's beauty. I find it strange you cannot see your own worth or how you eclipse her." "Your words are like honey. I wish I could believe you." "You think I would play you false?" "You are a man of the world. I am a girl who has never known love. Who do you think is the most easily fooled?" "You have me there. What would you do to know love?" "I would brave the very terrors you've described." "A dangerous pursuit." "A necessary one. I have no interest in a fortune. I live for but one moment of true love, no matter how scandalous it may be." Lord Jameson's eyes widened, and a slight smile touched his lips. "You are quite a woman, Miss Amelia." Applause filled the room, drowning out her reply. Couples withdrew from the floor, and he escorted her back to her chair. "I must go," he said. "I've a business engagement in the morning. May I call on you tomorrow?" "You may," Amelia said, "on one condition." "You have but to name it." "You must be as honest with me as I am with you." His expression grew grave. For a moment she thought he would not answer. At last he spoke, and the words surprised her. "Upon my word, I shall never lie to you, Amelia Fairfax." He pressed her hand to his lips and turned away. She watched as he retreated from her, wishing for another moment in his company. When he reached the other side of the room, before the fireplace, he met a gentleman swathed in black with a tall black hat. They said nary a word to one another, but took their leave together. Who was this strange man? She had not seen him before, nor had she glimpsed his face.